Turnout typically determines results in any given election year. And if recent trends hold, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders could sway this year's midterms more than ever before. White House correspondent Laura Barone Lopez looks into what's driving these AAPI voters to the polls.
Asian Americans are the fastest growing racial or ethnic group in the country. Nearly 23 million Americans are estimated to be AAPI, and their votes played an outsized role in the 2020 election in swing states like Georgia. Joining me to discuss are Christine Chen, Executive Director of Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote, and Karthik Ramakrishnan, a public policy professor at the University of California, Riverside. Karthik, I want to start with you. In addition to Georgia, where could AAPI voters have the biggest impact this cycle?
There are several Senate races, including in Nevada and North Carolina, and virtually any state where where the margin of victory is 2% or smaller. Chances are the Asian American and Pacific Islander community will play a decisive role. Now, looking beyond the Senate, there are several House races, including in Orange County in Southern California, and several other districts through the South and in the Northeast that have significant Asian American and Pacific Islander populations and that are rated as battleground races. So those are all the places where we can expect the Asian American and Pacific Islander community to play an important role this year.
Christine, the 2022 Asian American Voters Survey shows that AAPI voters prefer Democratic control of Congress 54% to 27%. But within that, Vietnamese voters favor Republicans 40% to 35%. This clearly gets at the AAPI vote is diverse and it's very big. Can you explain what is drawing Vietnamese voters to Republicans?
Well, traditionally, the Republican community has really appealed to especially the first generation immigrants in the Vietnamese community about being good about anti-communism. And so it is really that early engagement that really has developed their relationship with the Vietnamese community. But what we've also seen in the Asian American Voter Survey for this year is that a larger segment of the Vietnamese population, although they are still heavily Republicans, are starting to identify as independents. So I think that's actually the start of where you see second generation and younger Vietnamese American voters are becoming of age and also registering and voting.
Karthik, what issues are motivating AAPI voters to turn out next week?
Well, there are several issues that are standard issues, not only with respect to Asian American and Pacific Islander voters, but voters more generally. The economy is usually one of the top two issues in any year that we've done surveying of these populations. That's true this year as well. What was interesting in our survey was that healthcare emerged as a top issue. We did not ask specifically about abortion. We designed the survey before the Dobbs decision. Other surveys, including from the Pew Research Center, shows that Asian American voters tend to be the most supportive in terms of abortion rights. So that's going to be an issue. The economy is going to be an issue. But there are also issues like gun control and environmental protection that are among the top five. Republicans don't enjoy a big advantage among Asian American voters when it comes to the economy, when it comes to crime, unlike the general electorate.
The rise of Asian American hate in the U.S. has grown over the last 5 years. In the Asian American survey that I referred to earlier, 73% of Asian Americans worry about experiencing hate crimes, harassment, and discrimination at least sometimes. 24% said they worry about it, quote, very often. So Karthik, how do you think that is influencing the vote this election cycle?
Well, what we find is that among those who are very worried about hate incidents and hate crimes, they have a stronger support for the Democratic Party. So what that suggests is that this is a top-of-mind issue in so many Asian American communities and in ways that benefit the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates. Now, what's interesting is that some Republican candidates are trying to frame it as about crime to try to gain an upper hand among Asian American voters on that issue. But as long as Asian Americans perceive these as acts of discrimination and as acts of hate, chances are that the Democratic Party is more likely to benefit from it.
Christine, we saw that since 2018, there has been more attention paid to AAPI voters and their influence in the electorate. Can you explain how the two parties are improving or not improving their outreach?
We have been researching this since the 2012 Asian American Voter Survey, and unfortunately, it really has not changed that much. Still, over 50% of the community are not being contacted by the Democrats or the Republicans. We know that they are chipping away and actually improving bit by bit every cycle. This particular cycle, we are also seeing that there are more Asian American, Pacific Islander organizers that are being hired by both parties. There are more investments in terms of direct mail and phone banking and canvassing, as well as engagement with the ethnic press. But, this also demonstrates when you look at how many of the Asian American Pacific Islander electorate identifies with the political parties, it really ranges from like 20% to as high as 43% for the Chinese American community. So what that tells me is that the parties are not doing enough to actually educate our community and do long-term engagement with our community past the elections.
Karthik, what do we know so far about youth voter turnout among AAPI voters?
Well, what we saw in 2018 was a record increase in voter turnout among Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and particularly so among younger voters, those aged 18 to 35. These tend to be the most progressive voters on a range of issues. So a big question will be, will that youth turnout match what we saw in 2018? On the one hand, you have issues like abortion, reproductive rights, student debt that might motivate them to vote. But inflation and these economic difficulties might demobilize some of those voters as well. So that's going to be an important question in this election in terms of what youth turnout will look like, because that's going to have an impact in terms of what the overall level of Democratic versus Republican support will look like in this election.
Karthik Ramakrishnan and Christine Chen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.